Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Here I am in New York City. It's 5:51 a.m. in the morning over here in the Bronx. And I just saw a video on Facebook that made me really think. I'm that type that will consider what I'm looking at. There are many who are not able to do that because they are just so stuck in their perspectives. They rather do they rather just defend their positions regardless without allowing the other guy a break. You see what I'm saying? So, in this video that I saw, there was a bunch of folks from the Black Lives Movement approaching a Trump supporters rally. And as I was watching these people approaching that rally, I said to myself that this is going to get ugly. But that wasn't the case. The head person from that group, from the Black Lives Movement group, spoke with the other guy from the guy who was running the Trump supporters rally. They both got together, they had a discussion, and the guy who was running the rally allowed the Black Lives Movement to stand on stage and speak to the audience. And even though there were certain individuals from the audience that were shouting, "What about black on black crime? And what about this and that?" There were others in the audience who were in agreement with what that person from the Black Lives Movement was saying. So after, the thing about it, right, is that he says some things that open my eyes. He said, "Listen, we are not anti-cop. We are anti-bad cop. Yes, all lives matter, but when a black person gets murdered, we just feel that we have to let our voices be heard." So after he said what he had to say, he said a lot of other things that were interesting. Uh, Both groups, right? The Black Lives Movement group and the Trump supporters, they got together afterwards and they spoke with each other. They took pictures with each other. Uh, One of the folks from the Trump supporters side allowed his child to be held in the arms of the guy who was running the Black Lives Movement group. They took pictures together. And I'm looking at all this and I'm saying, wow, look at this. It made me think. You know, in my previous videos, I have been pretty harsh on the Black Lives Movement because I was looking at things from one perspective, you see. And the Lord this morning reminded me of 1 Corinthians chapter 13 verse 2, which says that if you can have the gift of prophecy, you can know all mysteries and all knowledge, you can have all faith that can move mountains, but if you do not have love, you are nothing. In other words, you could be extremely passionate, you could be guns blazing with your opinions, but if you don't leave the seeds of Christ behind you, if you don't leave love there with your listeners, then you just basically wasted your time. It's just hot air, you see. So in closing, I want to encourage you, to remind you that we cannot fix the world, the whole world. We cannot put out all of the fires across this nation, but we can change by being the change that we want to see in the world. You see, it all begins with you. We cannot put out the whole inferno that is currently happening in this country, but we can put out small fires here and there by doing what those two groups did in that video, the Black Lives Movement and the Trump supporters. And if we begin there, which they did, then we can just move forward from that. You see what I'm saying? What they did in that video is they put out a fire. They didn't put out the whole fire, but they started with that. And we can learn from that, including myself. Because like I said earlier in this video, I have been so one-sided. And even though I am still sticking with my guns, right? What we need to do is to always give the other side a break for Christ's sake. Because we as believers, right, Christians, we have to represent Christ. And we always have to represent the love of Christ. No matter how passionate you are with your views, sometimes we have to lower that heat. You see what I'm saying? It's like a stove. You have to know when to lower the heat so that everything else would just fall into place. This is the Preacher Man signing out. May the Lord, Yeshua, Mashiach, bless you all and your loved ones. And in Yeshua's holy name, I say, Amen. Peace.